Welcome back, everybody. American Gods, Season 1. When you thought things couldn't get any stranger, this series released all the way back in 2017. Here is the Wikipedia page. This was just after Trump's first term. And let me give you a summary, and then we'll get into some of these clips that I captured. So, what is American Gods about? Well, it tells the story of much of the truth about the foundation of who really rules America and how we, the people, inadvertently worship their gods. It's pretty clear. They don't even mince words, and you're going to see all that in this decode here. It essentially explains the pagan roots of all holidays, their sacrificial and fertility origins, and even how the days of the week were named, and how all this is used to manipulate us into the worship of these false gods. Now, I would not recommend this series. It is borderline demonic, like almost all media is, but this one is over the top. So today I'm going to give you the PG version because it's important that we look at how everybody else is being programmed against the remnant in the last days. You're going to see the gaslighting, the mockery. You're going to see them essentially trying to make the case that Jesus is just another God and not the Most High. And so all of this needs to be debunked, doesn't it? Because this was a very popular TV series. It programmed a lot of people. So we're going to help deprogram those people. Now, what you're going to notice here is just how easily even Christians give away their worship to these gods. They display it in plain sight. The series opens with a deal with the devil. This is him here, a deal with the devil, manifesting as the god Odin, but he also goes by the name Wednesday. Now, this is crazy, you guys. I always tell you, there is no wasted decode. Some people come to the channel, they think, oh, you're just throwing darts at the wall. No, there's no wasted decode. Here's one we did 11 years ago about Wednesday and Odin. We're going to play this. It's a short video. It's about 3 minutes long. Let's play it.
Hey guys, it's Enter the Stars. And we already talked about Mercury and the 88-day cycle of Mercury around the sun. We then related Mercury to Woden, who is Odin, from which the word Wednesday was derived. And everything that I just said is verifiable in Wikipedia if you desire to learn the truth. Now, we also had a lot of videos on the butterfly, and some of those butterflies were monarchs, of course. And this was puzzling to me because I couldn't figure out the root of why the tribe of Dan uses the butterfly as their symbol. And I believe today we have discovered it. And I'm going to share that with you. Now, Odin's son was Thor. And I'm going to show you here how the name of the god of Thor was the name that is used for our present day Thursday. Now, no one is teaching you this, you guys. We are getting to the very root of the fabric of our reality, the days of the week and how they were named. And right here in Wikipedia for Thor, they explain how Thor's day is Thursday. Now they use this term, Poneris de Gas. Now of course Thor is from the tribe of Dan. This is all Germanic, Dutch, Swedish, all of the Nordic states and countries. But here is the Degas, you guys. The Degas is the butterfly. This is the symbol used for the Degas. Now the Degas has many other meanings. It means day. Dagon, I believe, may be linked to this symbol as well. Dagon being the god of corn, which is the fish head, which is the Catholic Church, and the hat that they wear that resembles a fish head. But this is the Degas, you guys. When I do a search on Degas and butterfly, we see the link. Now what I'm finding with these revelations of truth is that deep down inside of us, we all know what the truth is. We just have to take the leap of faith and search for it. And that is how this journey has formed, you guys. The butterfly shape described here in Wikipedia. You see all the many references of Degas linked to the butterfly shape. And that is most likely the Germanic and Dutch roots of the word Degas, going back to the age of Thor, which is pretty darn old, you guys. So again, what is the point of all this? I've been asked to kind of sum things up when we go over these things.
All right, so there you heard it 11 years ago. And in this very first scene, Odin, Woden's Day, Wednesday, swears an oath with his bodyguard. How does he do it? 2 shots and a booster. Now remember, this was 2017, 3 years before the pandemic. Yet, you're going to hear it in his own words.
We have a compact. The second seals the deal, the third is the charm, and we're done.
2 shots and the charm. 2 shots and a booster. And this is Shadow Moon. He forms a pact with him. This is his bodyguard.
I'm all sword, Shadow. The screen's the altar.
Now, the whole series centers around Shadow Moon and this love story between him and his wife, Laura Moon. And by the end of the series, you realize that Laura and Shadow Moon represent you and me through the eyes of these false gods. They're easily manipulated. They're able to manipulate others. They give their belief and worship to the false gods, even though they don't really want to. And by the end of it, they themselves become hybrids, part god, part human. And this is the union that these false gods want. Now, to prove my point, they even cast Laura Moon as this woman. Let's scroll down here. Emily Browning. She was born on the Pearl in the Harbor Day. Thought I was making all that up, didn't you? The Pearl in the Harbor Day is Mary Conception Day. This is when the pearl was in the harbor, when the sperm met the egg, the monthly seed ready for fertilization. And when you count out the weeks, if this was the date of fertilization, birth would happen on September 11th the following year. Remember, they kept comparing 9/11 to another Pearl Harbor? Well, this is why. They are inextricably linked. Now, let's go back to Shadow Moon, her husband. He was born on the very near the sun god's birthday. Now, this is in real life, you guys. Listen carefully. They cast these people into these roles. December 31st. Now, let's keep watching here because Shadow Moon meets the god Media. He's out running errands for Odin, and he meets Media. Now, who is Media? Media manifests as Lucy Ricardo. Let's watch here. Let's back this up just a little bit. Got ahead of myself.
I'm all sword, Shadow. The screen's the altar.
The screen is the altar. She's the Media.
I'm the one they sacrifice to.
I'm the one they sacrifice to. Now how? With their time. Now, there's one thing to come on and screen these things, decode it, and show you how everybody else is being deceived. That's a wise use of the media, right? But most people don't do that. Most people consume the media, and it sucks up all their time, and they're completely programmed by it.
Then till now. Golden age to golden age.
Golden age to golden age. Did you hear that? Trump says we are in another golden age of America.
Talking to Lucille Ball.
Lucy Ricardo. Time and attention. Better than lamb's blood.
What? They sacrifice their time and attention.
They sit side by side, ignore each other, and give it up to me. Now they hold a smaller screen in their lap or in the palm of their hand so they don't get bored watching the big one. We are
Screens everywhere. Screens within screens. Do you see how they're gaslighting? They're literally telling people the truth as they're watching the TV show to consume the media and have no idea what they're even looking at until they come to a decode like this and they're like, whoa, that's what was happening. Let's keep playing this.
We are self-driving cars and 3D printers and subdermal time-release insulin. And your old boss is still selling oranges on the side of the road. We are now and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And he ain't even yesterday anymore.
Now, in this series, the gods kind of battle each other for supremacy and for the most people to worship them. Okay. This is why, okay, people ask, what is your problem with Trump? The guy wants everyone to worship him. I mean, it's obvious at this point, but just even by the way he talks, he's one of these gods. He vies for your attention. He tweets so much. He puts a T on everything. That's not of God, you guys. That is of the devil. The devil is like that. He wants everyone to worship him.
Look at it like this, Shadow. We're the coming thing. We are already here. This is not.
Now, let's keep going. Now, they do this thing where they basically, all the people that believe in these gods, they essentially, their demise is dictated by the God they believe in. This is what they say. Now, we know that's not true. We know there's one most high God. And by the end of it, he's going to be the one who's going to determine what happens to us, right? But in the series, they make it sound like most of these people go to this other God who weighs the hearts of men to see where they go. And so this woman dies. She falls off of her stool in the kitchen and she's dead. And she goes to the afterlife and she has her heart weighed. And of course, where's this woman from? Let's take a look.
This is not Queens.
This is not Queens. Now, why does the city of Queens keep coming up over and over and over again? The place where Trump was born. Why does this randomly keep coming up? Well, you're going to see later in the decode.
This is not Queens.
And if I know my friend, someone got tossed into the volcano.
At this point, Odin and Shadow go to basically what amounts to a white supremacist city. And they sacrifice a single person into the volcano. Oh, does all this sound familiar? Remember all the Tlaylock decodes we did? And Burning Man, the one sacrifice every year? They show it in the series. It's like in our faces, you guys. They sacrifice to, it's basically a pot of molten steel in the factory, but they call it a volcano. And the factory makes ammo and guns. And so in this town, this is what they do. There's always one sacrificial victim. Let's back this up. This is really unbelievable. It's kind of spooky, isn't it?
And if I know my friend, someone got tossed into the volcano.
Funeral?
Less a funeral than a celebration of sacrifice.
This was a human sacrifice.
Celebration of sacrifice, human sacrifice in the volcano, the new fire ceremony that we talked about, where one victim is lit on fire, their heart beating out of their chest at the top of a volcano every 52 years. We saw the same thing play out in the Joe versus the volcano decode that we did.
Faulty railings at the forge.
Burning Man, every year someone dies. Didn't one guy jump in the fire?
times a year, an employee takes the plunge. The insurance company says it's cheaper to settle than... A couple of times a year, an employee takes the plunge. The insurance company says it's cheaper to settle than to close down and refurbish.
Those who worship hold a volcano in the palm of their hand. You are what you worship. God of the volcano.
Wow, it just straight out tells you what the truth is. But so few see it, right? Now, then we get the story of Laura Moon, of course, Shadow Moon's wife, and she dies in a car accident a few days before Shadow Moon was released from prison. And the episode goes back in history to tell the story of her, of Laura Moon. And she's like an archetype. They talk about when the pilgrims first came. And so she comes as a pilgrim at first. And they describe her essentially as a resourceful and opportunistic woman who defies the odds down through history by praying to false gods and using her sexuality to get what she wants. She gives offerings to the leprechaun because this is part of her belief system. And she ends up being locked in a prison with him somewhere down in history. So essentially, they're saying there's nothing new under the sun. These spirits that are within people just keep repeating over and over again, living throughout their life.
You do all right there.
The fuck would I do in the Americas?
Deliver gold to their king.
They don't have a king.
Not yet.
What? And that's where we heard the coming American king, Donald Trump. Now, who would have ever thought we would be here today, looking back at 2017, where we could literally say that we have now a king as president? Let's take a look. Let's play that back again. My cat's in a rocking chair. It's hilarious. Rocking chair is rocking by itself. I'm like, no, the cat's up there. Hold on, let's back this up. Notice the Scotland, the Scottish aspect. Unbelievable.
You do all right there.
The fuck would I do in the Americas?
Deliver gold to their king.
They don't have a king.
Not yet.
So, who would have ever imagined there'd be a no kings movement? Now let's keep going. Now remember all the decodes we did on the 5th of November, the festival of Samhain, when the veil is lowest, when the Pleiades reach their zenith in the night sky. And the range of this festival goes from October 31st to November 5th. November 5th is like the last date it can land on, and the date moves every year. Well, listen to this.
Everyone needs a king. The night of Samhain, the spirits can spill freely into our world.
Can't make this up. Now remember, we had already linked Samhain with the Burning Man and the New Fire Ceremony. The New Fire Ceremony happened on the 5th of November, when the Pleiades were highest in the sky. So all of it's connected. 5th of November, Samhain, New Fire Ceremony.
Yes, your daddy's home. But if you wear a disguise like that, then they'll take you for one of their own.
You could.
So she's explaining Halloween. So they're telling you the truth about the holidays, okay? Is what this amounts to. Now, toward the end of the season, all the gods converge at the goddess of Easter, Ostera. And this is where they try to muddy the waters about our belief in Jesus Christ. And this is why more and more people are becoming atheist, because they're programmed by stuff like this. Jesus just kind of blends in to the background. And just so you know, the devil knew the redemption plan from the beginning of time. From the garden, he knew the redemption plan. because it's a blood sacrifice system. And if it wasn't for the plan, everything you see around you would be gone. It would be gone. God offered the sacrificial system until Jesus had come and he could sacrifice his son. And the devil tried to hijack the sacrificial system by doing his own sin-based sacrificial system. God's is based on love and Christ and no sin, sin no more. The devil's is based on how much sin someone can do. It's the opposite. Do you see how this works now? It was always about the blood. Blood wars. So they all descend on Easter, and she's like the main god. And they show all the archetypes of Christ at this party. And look, people say, and so they basically explain here, oh, the archetype of Christ was already predated by all these gods. Well, of course it was, because the devil knew the redemption plan since the beginning of time. You can't go back before the beginning of time. So the devil started copying Jesus before he was ever born. The devil knew when he was going to be born because it was predicted in the Bible. The prophecy of when and how Jesus would be born was already prophesied in the Old Testament. So the devil just started copying it before it ever happened to confuse everybody. And this is why the core principle of the gospel is belief. Belief that he died and rose again, because if you get lost in the fray and you start believing the devil and think that Jesus never was born, then you're lost. This is a heart issue. It's a humility issue. It's a faith issue. So don't fall for this. They're telling you right here how they're convincing people not to believe in God. Let's listen.
You could call this Easter.
He says, you can call this Easter. There she is here in flowers. Ostara.
Or we could call it what it really is, a pagan ritual, the celebration of the beginning of spring, dating.
We could call this what it really is, the pagan ritual of celebrating spring, dating
back about 12,000 years.
Hello, boys.
You were before these apps.
Dating back about 12,000 years. So see, each statement they're making is trying to discredit Jesus, but they don't tell you that there are all these Old Testament prophecies of what Jesus was going to come do thousands of years later. They don't tell you that part of it. So this is how they lie. People just think, oh, if these false gods predated Jesus, then Jesus must not be real. This is why you need to hear the decode to help you understand that all this is to talk you out of belief in Christ.
Beginning of spring, dating back about 12,000 years.
Hello, boys.
You were before these assholes were born. For her, to exchange as gifts at the first sign of spring in her name. Ostara.
They still do. They still do. On my festival days, they still feast on eggs and rabbit and candy, and they do it in my name.
Until the day that Jesus Christ crawled out of his stinky old grave, folks would paint eggs with dandelions. No doubt that millions upon millions exchange tokens and observe the rituals of your festival, all down to the hunting of the hidden eggs. But does anybody pray in your name? So when you see children dipping eggs in vinegar, the colors of their favorite toys, and they spread their seed over that sinking mass that is the great state of Florida, or when you see the nation's youth fleeing south for copulation, or when they all, without realizing it, do it in her name.
Pretty profound, isn't it? This is why we have so many atheists running around now. This is why we have people falling out of the faith. Their love is growing cold because they've been programmed. They watch all this stuff and then they're programmed to not believe in Christ anymore. The only thing he asks you to do is to believe. It's pretty simple. A child could do it. But many people can't even do that. Now, next, they introduce a new god. This is like the algorithm god. Yes, there is an algorithm god. And he strikes a deal to rescue a goddess. He gives her clicks and likes and views in exchange for her servitude What does he want her to do? To lure men in and distract them.
You've done well with me. Total unique impressions is what sells, and no one leaves an impression more unique than you. Impressive reach metrics.
Now, remember all the discussions we had about relevance and reach and how hard we fought because we realized we were fighting an algorithm? Well, now you know why we had to have those discussions. It had nothing to do with me or ego or pride. It had to do about us fighting the beast. And nothing gets done if it's hidden, right? This is what they try to do. They try to put you in your little corner of the social media, and so no one ever sees what you're talking about, and then no one can wake up, and essentially you're just not reaching anyone. So this is, now you know why certain channels are held down and others aren't. There's a literal algorithm demon, and if your messaging doesn't serve the demon in some way, shape, or form, you won't be seen. Now, the goddess of media works with the algorithm god. It almost manifests as like her child. It's like their teenage child in the TV series. But media says the same thing. This is media here. And she says, you don't get seen unless you're serving the devil. Puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It's religious Darwinism. Adapt and survive. What we have achieved together, you and I, is no small feat. St. Nick took the same deal you did. The only reason why you're relevant today is because Easter is a Christian holiday.
Wow, they literally come right out and tell you that the only people that get recognized are the ones that she says, because you're a Christian holiday. And so, in other words, they can use the Christian holiday, couple it with Easter to trick more people and to make them fall out of the faith. So this was pretty much the end of season 1. There were 2 other seasons. I tried to get on the second season of American Gods, and I did like cherry pick a couple of episodes from American Gods in the second season because they mentioned a god that we've talked about quite a bit, Baron Samedi. He's in the second season. And of course, Baron Samedi is from I Pet Goat 2, right? So I started in, but the second season was so poorly done, I don't know how I'm going to power through it. Season 3 is supposed to be good, or at least got high ratings, so I might just skip over to season 3, unless you guys remember an episode from season 2 that you think I need to look at, and then I can check that out. Now, there is one god who does not make an appearance in the series, and it's Apollo. But we know that Apollo is the main god. He is the sun god. Now, there is a channel on here on YouTube called Dan Shikos, and they're a Russian family, and he did this exploration of the Temple of Apollo, and he found some things that I didn't even know existed at the Temple of Apollo. He found unexplainable ancient technology, stone cutting with perfect angles and flatness and precision that you're seeing on your screen right now. Here's some other images of it. Impossible with hammer and chisels. Yet, this is how we're told in 2026 how the ancient temple of Apollo was built, with stone hammers, or with chisels and hammers. So what did I do? I decided to ask the algorithm why they lie about how the temple of Apollo was built. And you're not going to believe the answer. They don't deny it. I ask, why does AI lie about the Temple of Apollo being built with a hammer and chisel? It says here, AI models can sometimes present inaccurate information about the construction of ancient sites, like the Temple of Apollo, often citing hammer and chisel techniques. Based on an analysis of how AI works and recent research into AI behavior, this is generally due to several factors rather than a deliberate, malicious lie. And they say it's because of reliance on historical assumptions, or they tell us we're hallucinating, alternative history echo chambers, potential for deceptive behavior. While hammers and chisels were fundamental tools for finishing, shaping, and cutting stone in ancient Greece, the construction also involved sophisticated logistical planning, cranes, and at times precision geometric non-metal tools like abrasive sand or strings. If an AI reduces this entire complex process solely to hammer and chisel, it is oversimplifying the engineering, a common flaw in AI-driven historical summaries. So, we're told this was done with hammer and chisels. You can't even slide a piece of paper between these two stones. So, that's what I had for you guys today. We'll probably do between the headlines tomorrow. There are some headlines emerging. Let me pop into the chat for a bit. Thanks everybody for showing up. America is the name for the plumed serpent. It's called TV programming for a reason. Thanks. Television. Yep. Please look up and research Mercator projections charts used for navigation. The battle for North America's mind will in the video drone. Tried to watch the series to decode it, but also couldn't watch. Yeah, it's pretty sickening. That's why I don't recommend it. Yeah, we have a whole playlist on Westworld. So just go to the playlist tab, look up Westworld, and you'll see like 25 videos. But that's where we're headed. We're almost there. Okay. So we've got essentially, okay, well, this is the elite's playground. This is why they're laughing at us, that they could do what they did to children. And there's millions of files about it, and they don't show us, and everyone keeps just cheering Trump on as if there's nothing to see here. And they divide people in the right-left paradigm by saying, oh, well, if there was something on Trump, then Biden would have released the files. Well, that's because there's stuff on the Democrats too. There's no aisle, there's no side of the aisle on Epstein Isle. They're all in it together. So they're going to work together to cover it up. So we are their playground. They cherry pick us. They basically live off of the cream of the crop of our society. They fleece us for all of our money. They take our children. And essentially, it's all about the chrome. This is what they do. And this is why they want the surveillance state, so they can maintain perfect control, so they can know everything we do. You know, I watch some of these true crime episodes, and they go into your cell phone data. They go into your search engine. Doesn't matter if you have a VPN. They have stuff to get around that. They can look at every single search you ever made in your entire life. They can pull this stuff up from years and years and years and years ago. They got surveillance footage. Now all they have to do is put it into an algorithm and a big mainframe, Stargate AI, and now they can know what we know about them. You see the problem here? They can hide. And then the algorithm will simply spit out an AI-generated alibi for them so that they'll never be held accountable for their crimes. Now, if you think it's bad now, they've already got armed men in masks going door to door. Where do you think this is all headed? Where do you think this is all headed? There will come a day where they simply go and kidnap our children. And they'll make an excuse. They'll say it's about this or about that. Or they could just make up a case against you. Say you're a bad parent. They could even make an AI image of you doing something wrong. Take your children. Where do you think these children are going to go? Now, they're not going to do this widespread or frequently because they know eventually there'll be an uprising. But people are so dumbed down, they'll believe the excuse that they're given. Just like people are believing the excuse of why we're in Minnesota in the middle of ice with ice in the middle of winter when there's almost no illegals there. Almost everybody thinks it's a good thing. They don't understand. So people do buy lies, and the algorithm will have complete control of the lie, won't it? You will be in Westworld. You will be stuck in a matrix of lies. And when you're the one person who knows the truth, they call it the maze in Westworld. When you're the one person or the few people that know the truth, nobody's going to hear you because the algorithms will control that message. Do you see the problem now? And yes, we are headed toward lifelike robots. We're almost there. Elon Musk says in the next few years, there will be an army of robots that will outnumber humans. This is what he said. Now, the implications of this are startling, aren't they? Will there be less humans? I mean, or are they going to make 300 million robots? I think there's probably going to be less humans. And the humans that are left are going to be ruled by the robots. It's the Terminator scenario. Skynet. Elon Musk already launched Skylink or Starlink or whatever. That's like Skynet. Why do you think they're shooting all these missiles up in the air and putting all these satellites up there? It's for the prison that's coming for all of us. And these are the beginnings of it. Desensitizing you to armed men in military surplus going door to door on our streets. It doesn't matter the excuse. It doesn't matter that they're doing it for, quote, illegal immigration. The excuse doesn't matter. The excuse is just there so that people can justify it. So they can say, good. So we are in Westworld. It's happening right now. You just don't realize it yet. These elite will be able to do whatever they want. And if Donald Trump wasn't an example of an elite that does whatever he wants, he doesn't care about public opinion, I don't know what other example I could give you. It's already happening. They can do whatever they want. Donald Trump said, I could scroot somebody. I have to say that in a coded language, and people would still vote for me. Now, was that debunked? Did he actually say that? So think about when you first came to this channel 10 years ago and how much things have changed in the last 10 years. Now, the only shocker was that I thought it was the Democrats that were going to usher all this in. No, they played the other side of the coin. They're the ones who created all the problems so that Trump could come in and bring the solution. They played their role, but they weren't the ones to implement what amounts to martial law that it's happening right now. That was the rope-a-dope. That one even surprised me. Had no idea it would go down like that. But here we are. All the things we were afraid Obama was going to do, Trump is now doing. Trump has now essentially, well, you guys know, I'm not going to go through all of it. But now you see it clearly. So there were no wasted decodes. There was no me wasting your time or distracting you. Everything we pretty much said was going to happen is happening right now. And it continues to happen. But you have to build the case, don't you? And that's why we had all the decodes, building the case. I'm showing you where all this was headed. We are closer now to digital money than ever before. You would think that would have happened under Obama, right? Nope. It's happening under Trump. normalizing of Bitcoin, digital currency. We're headed towards complete digital currency. He's already removed the penny. That all happened under Trump. If that had happened under Obama, we would have all been screaming from the rooftops, see, we're headed toward a digital currency. But no, Trump did it. It's amazing how he's doing all these liberal things that we thought were liberal. You can't even call it that anymore. Right? And so here we are, you guys, here we are. All right. What else? That was a great question about Westworld. Thanks for that. But there is a whole Westworld playlist here on the channel. You guys have any other questions before we pop off here? Black fatigue is worldwide. This is on purpose. What do you think the setup is? Where do you think even the term black fatigue came from? So the left was the setup. And remember, I kept warning you guys. Remember I told you I'm a black person. And I said, you guys, if you really think about it, black people are not really oppressed, and they haven't been for decades. And I gave you specific examples of my family, my father, my mother, and myself, who had plenty of opportunity in America by simply applying ourselves. I grew up poor. I grew up with gangs. So you can't say, oh, he was born with a silver spoon. No, it's what you personally decide to do, and it's your mindset and taking yourself out of the liberal lie, which tells you that everywhere you walk, people are waiting to oppress you. That's not true. Now, some people might not like you because of your color, but that's not true racism. Racism is people's ability to affect your livelihood, or to keep you out of a store, or keep you from picking a cell phone plan, or from opening a bank account, or getting a mortgage loan, or starting a business. That is true racism, and that simply doesn't exist anymore. It's based on who you are as a person. Do you have a police record? Do you, and I kept telling you, and I said, we need to start bridging the gap. Oh, but then people are like, you're not black. You're always kowtowing to white people. And then remember that whole thing, he's not even black. And I said, black people come in all shades. I even posted pictures of my parents on my Facebook page so that people could see. Well, now guess what? Who do you think they're going to turn on next? Once they're done with the illegals, they're going to probably bring it right back, because now this whole word black fatigue, okay, that's the setup. That's the setup. And you see all the sellout YouTube channels using the term freely. Black fatigue, black fatigue. Well, you're playing right into it. You're playing right into it. What we should have done was bridge the gap and said, look, hey, you can make it. Yeah, people aren't going to like you, but that's not true racism. They don't affect you. Just like people have preferences about, blonde, brunette, redhead, it's no different. Some people really like certain people and other people don't. Color isn't really the issue, in my opinion. And there's a lot of opportunity, or there was. Now, Trump has undid a lot of that, right? With the DEI and all that. So here we are. The left and the right work together to advance the agenda. And pretty soon, mark my words, pretty soon, what's going to happen? Trump's going to say, hey, all the crime is happening in black cities and black people. Well, it's black on black crime. That is a true statement. Black on black crime. There is just as much black on black crime as there is white on white crime. The two don't really cross over. I looked up the statistics in a previous show. But a lot of the crime, there's a lot more crime in black communities than there are white communities. That's just a fact. So at some point, I can imagine Donald Trump, look, he's got 3 more years. All he's got to do is turn the dial, and everybody will be behind him. Turn the dial. Now we're going to go door to door and start, race profiling. and people will die. But they're starting it out with white people. Notice they're starting it out with white people. Now, here's the interesting thing. You don't see many black people at these protests, do you? That's another interesting thing I noticed. Black people already got the memo. They're like, we already got tricked. We're done. They're just staying out of it. So those are just some thoughts about all this. When you choose a side, you become fodder for the drama. When you choose sides. If you didn't hear anything else I said today, try to remember that. When you choose a side and buy into their right-left paradigm, you become a victim at a certain point. Dude, okay, so right now, what is Trump doing? Antifa, they've got a database on these people. They're literally face scanning them. ICE is going around face scanning people. They're going into a database, and what do you think is going to happen? They're all going to get rounded up next, or are getting rounded up as we speak. So what's going to happen when a Democrat comes into power? Oh, since they did it to Antifa, we're going to go after the MAGA crowd. Now they've got all your digital data. They just go on your Facebook. Oh, okay, this person is now a domestic terrorist because they're in MAGA. So if you chose MAGA just to counter Antifa, you're now on the list. Don't buy their labels. If you buy their labels, you will eventually get scooped up like the tide. No part of this world. We're in it, but no part of it. All right. That's about all I had for you guys today. I'll see you tomorrow with Between the Headlines. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.